someone had to do it. Someone had to try and do it. At least once. So here I am. Everyone thinks that Castform is bad, and at this point, it's become a complete laughing stock. Everyone thinks that Castform shouldn't even be let anywhere near VGC because of how bad it is. But are you all mistaken? And is Castform actually the largest potential one in Pokemon history? I had to find out for myself. I had to. And the only way I could do that is if I tried to get Castform into Master Ball tier in Pokemon Champions, started from complete scratch and brought it into every single game. But the big question is, why is Castform seen as bad? Well, it's because on paper, it's just mid. It stats a 70 across the board, which means that it doesn't excel in anything, so the only saving grace for Castform would either be its moveset or its ability, which to be fair, are both quite interesting. Castform has the ability Forecast, and this changes Castform's type based on what the weather condition is. For example, if it's in the sun, it'll become a fire type, if it's in the snow, it'll become an ice type, and if it's in the rain, it'll become a water type. For some reason, it doesn't get anything for Sandstorm, but it's obviously because it'd be too powerful if it did. I mean, the only Pokemon that would have been able to even compete with it would have been Delta Stream Rayquaza, so I understand Game Freak's decision on this one. But anyway, when the weather's not up, Castform's just a regular normal type, but having the opportunity to change your type is really unique. And Castform has a very expansive moveset. It's able to learn moves like Blizzard, Hurricane, Flamethrower, but arguably the most important move it's able to learn is Weather Ball. When there's no weather up, Weather Ball only has a base power of 50 and is a normal type move. But if there is weather, the power doubles to 100 and the type changes according to what the weather condition is, which allows Castform to always have stab when using it, with the only exception being Sandstorm because they're obviously saving that for Mega Castform. But essentially, Castform has all the coverage it would ever need. But is Castform's moveset and ability enough to offset its BST? No. I mean, Weather Ball can hit hard under the correct scenario, but generally 70 special attack isn't going to get you anywhere. I mean, there's literally Pokemon that have over double that just for Mega Evolving. But I was determined to make Castform work. Now first, I had to decide what weather condition to run it in, and I decided to choose the snow, as Blizzard is one of the best moves in doubles, and ice type moves are just always nice to have. Now, even though Blizzard is a good move, it's not omnipotent, and types do resist ice, so I needed a way to counter them. The 4 types that resist ice are Fire, Water, Ice, and Steel. So for my Castform, I decided to use Flamethrower to counter Ice and Steel types, Energy Ball for Water types, and for the last move I'd Protect, as it's a staple on doubles. Now I had to decide if I should run Castform in Tailwind or Trick Room, because it needs it. And in the end, I chose Trick Room. It was a hard choice because 70 speed isn't the best for Trick Room. To be honest, having a speed stat in the 70s is probably the worst speed stat you can have in Pokemon because it isn't optimal for Tailwind or slow enough for Trick Room. But generally the meta is focused around fast Pokemon like Mega Charizard Y, Mega Floatte, and Sneasler. So Trick Room was the best option because if my opponent had any of these Pokemon and had Tailwind up as well, Castform ain't outspeeding anyone. But before I kept on scheming, I needed to find a Snow and Trick Room setter. And for the Trick Room setter, I opted to use Mega Slowbro because it has good special attack and it's really bulky. My thought process was, with its defenses, it should be able to at least survive one turn, allowing us to actually set up Trick Room. But apart from Trick Room, I gave Slowbro Scored because it's Stab, Protect, and Blizzard, because if we're going to be in the snow, we might as well teach Blizzard to as many Pokemon as we can. And speaking of snow, we need our snow setter, and I decided to use Galarian Slowking because it has access to the move Chilly Reception, and I thought this move would work perfectly with Castform. What Chilly Reception does is it sets up snow, but at the same time swaps out Slowking. And if we use Trick Room with Mega Slowbro, while Slowking uses Chilly Reception, we can get Castform onto the field at the end of the first turn, while Trick Room gets activated, which allows us to spam Blizzard from the second turn onwards. And because Slowking has a base speed of 30, Chilly Reception will pretty much always go last before Trick Room, meaning that Castform won't be targeted during the switch and will always be on the field with full HP. And what makes this even better is that Slowking has the ability Regenerator, meaning that it heals itself by 33% when it swaps out, so this just adds to the synergy. But don't let Slowking's roll for you because it's way more than a weather setter. It's low-key a bit of a menace. Its stats are decent, and its type is not bad with it being a poison and psychic type, making it weak to less things than the regular Slowking. Apart from Chilly Reception, I decided to give it Trick Room in case Mega Slowbro went down later during the match. I also gave it Protect and Acid Spray. Now Acid Spray only has a base power of 40, but it always lowers your opponent's special defense by 2 stages. And so far our team only has special attackers, so Acid Spray seemed like a no-brainer. Now the snow is nice, but it can easily be taken away if your opponent sets up another weather condition. So I decided to double up on the snow and also involve the Aurous on the team for our 4th slot, because Aurous has the ability Snow Warning, which automatically sets up the snow. So if our opponent tries to change the weather, we can send in Aurous and boom, the snow's back. And Aurous is actually pivotal here because it deals with a lot of things that the team struggles with. As already mentioned, we're mainly going to be spamming Blizzard, so we still have to watch out for the 4 types that resist it. And Aurous is able to learn Earth Power for Fire and Steel types, and it's able to learn Freeze Drive for Water types. So Aurous here is essentially the Avatar. Well, actually, we have two avatars. On second thought, I don't know if I should be comparing Castform to the avatar. But Aurous is very good for coverage, and with it only having 58 speed, it's going to fit perfectly on the team. The only bad thing about Aurous is that it's weak to a lot of things, but we ball, and that's the full team. We have 2 slots remaining, but they're completely redundant because the team is perfectly optimized to only work with these 4 Pokemon. If one of them is missing, the whole team falls apart. So I did something quite interesting. For the final slots, we have Aerodactyl and we have Charizard, and these 2 are purely here for mind games. The one downside about running Trick Room is that your opponent can tell if you're going to use it by seeing your team, and because of that, it gives them a chance to shut it down. But with us having Charizard and Aerodactyl, our opponents won't know what's going on, and you might think I'm crazy, okay, look, you might, but if our opponent has a Lycanroc on their team, they might feel inclined to lead with it, allowing Slowbro to use scored and KO it. But yeah, that's the true 4 team. And to go over the items, Castform has the Nevermelt Ice and Blizzard hits harder, Galarian Slowking has the Corba Berry to half dart damage, Aurous has the Chopper Berry to half fighting damage, Slowbro and Charizard are both holding the Mega Stones, even though I again don't intend to bring Charizard, and Aerodactyl has the Lumberry because I don't know. But now it was time for me to start climbing the ranks with the boy Castform and test out if this team was capable of reaching the top. I began in Pokeball tier, and as expected, the idea of spamming Blizzard worked really well. I didn't really fight too many weather teams, but I quickly realized that using Chilly Reception into Castform was not a good idea, because we could just lead off with Aurous instead and stop the store automatically, so that's what I did. The reason why I wanted to use Chilly Reception is because it allowed Castform to enter the game earlier, but it felt like it made more sense to let Castform enter the game naturally, and after this change, the team felt really fluid, and Castform essentially steamrolled Pokeball tier, and we ended up in Great Ball without too much hassle. But here's where things start to get a bit interesting, because it was at this point I felt like I was fighting really competent teams, and I quickly realized that Fake Out was a huge problem. Sneasler and Incineroar have very high usage, and all it took was one of them to use Fake Out onto Slowbro to disrupt it using Trick Room. So I decided that it was time for a team change, and I concluded that it was time for Charizard to get replaced. I know, I can't believe it either, but I needed a Trick Room setter that was immune to Fake Out, as that was the most common thing that I kept on seeing. Now, a lot of people would just use Frigoraph because it has the ability Armatel, but I decided to use Spiritomb instead, ultimately because I am the biggest Spiritomb expert, I always use it, and it does a few things that Frigoraph can't. To quickly break down Spiritomb, it's a Ghost and Dark type, meaning that it's not affected by normal type moves like Fake Out, and because it's a Dark type, it's not affected by Pranks the Taunt either. And Spiritomb has surprisingly good stats. It's very unlikely that you're gonna one-shot it first turn, and apart from Trick Room, it's able to get access to some really strong support moves like Snarl and Will-O-Wisp, and I love Destiny Bond on it as well, because no one ever sees it coming. So overall Spiritomb solid, and I found myself in the team replacing Charizard. Look, as long as we have Aerodactyl on the team, our opponent won't know what's coming. You have to trust me, man. Now, I recorded this video at the very start of the second regulation, so Regulation MB, and I decided to check the item shop to see if they updated any items. And here's my live reaction to seeing the item shop. New item! The Life Orb! Garchomp's back. Well, like, Garchomp never left, but the real Garchomp's finally back. Okay, what's we got? The Iron Ball! Oh, the Iron Ball! As someone who always uses Trick Room, the Iron Ball being here is such a big W. They have all the weather extenders as well. This is actually perfect timing. We can buy the Icy Rock for Aurous. And yeah, very, very big W from Pokemon Champions here. But yeah, I bought some items and gave the Icy Rock to Aurous. And with that, our new team was ready. And you know what? Castform was actually shredding Great Ball tier. I thought a lot of our Children Rain teams featuring Mega Swampert, but Swampert wasn't an issue at all. Castform was able to take care of them easily by using Energy Ball, and seeing Castform one-shot Mega Swamperts consistently was something that I was not expecting when doing this video. In fact, raiding other weather teams in general weren't a problem, because I found out that if my opponent had a weather setter on their team, going back to the original idea of leading Slowking was actually better than sending out Aurous, because using Chilly Reception and having Aurous in the back gave us more chances to gain the weather advantage. And there were so many scenarios where our Trollodons tried to use Electro Shot, not knowing I was about to change the weather, which left it completely vulnerable and easy to KO. But one thing that I did realize was that Earthquake was a massive problem, because Galarian Slowking and Aurous are both weak to it. So after a few games, I decided to swap the Corba Berry for the Shuka Berry on Slowking, halving the damage with ground type moves. And I decided to swap Flamethrower on Castform for Weather Ball, as I wasn't really utilizing Flamethrower, and because I was fighting a lot of rain teams, Flamethrower's power becomes weaker anyway, so it was better to just have Weather Ball. But in general, after the team changes, Great Ball wasn't too bad either. Spiritomb was a great addition, and not being stopped by Fake Out was huge. The team worked cohesively, and dare I say, Castform even made Great Ball tier look like a joke. And again, I was fighting really good Pokemon like Mega Floatte, Incineroar, Sneasler, and Castform was still doing incredibly well, and I found myself in Ultra Ball. And here's where the video actually begins, because everything went wrong from this point on. I was losing every single match. No, literally, the exact second I entered Ultra Ball tier, I hadn't won a single match. And I played a decent amount of games, probably like 5, and I didn't win any of them. And the main Pokemon that kept on giving me problems was Annihilate, because it's naturally bulky, and my team is very weak to both Ghost and Fighting. So Annihilate was essentially a one-man army against it. Another Pokemon that was annoying was Golden God, because it would always one-shot Aurous and Castform would make it rain, because they're both weak to Steel. So in the end, I ended up replacing Protect for Flamethrower on Slowking to try and deal with it. But one Pokemon that I couldn't deal with was Mega Charizard Y. Gaining the weather advantage isn't a problem, but Charizard's typing is. With it being a fire and flying type, it was very hard for me to deal super effective damage against it. And even though Blizzard is neutral, Heat Wave is just very strong and basically nukes everything. I did have a bit of success with Destiny Bond, and Mega Slowbro is able to hit it with Scald. But if the sun's up, Slowbro's gonna get done by Solar Beam, and me using Destiny Bond isn't a reliable way to deal with Charizard. And the thing is, Slowking does get Power Gem and Aurous does get Ancient Power, but their movesets were pretty much already optimized, and I didn't think there was any room really to include disrespectful moves on either of them. So this team needed a big change, and by a big change, I mean a complete overhaul. I needed a team that was able to deal with the threats I mentioned and more. At this point, I was at a total impasse, but I knew Castform still had more in his locker, and me and him got to plotting, and we came to the conclusion that we should use Rain. Rain is probably the best weather condition in Pokemon Champions for too many reasons, but for me to get into Master Ball tier, I had to utilize it. So now I had to decide what Pokemon to replace. And in the end, I decided that I still wanted to keep Spiritomb, Aurous, and Slowking on the team, because the combination of Chilly Reception and Snow Warning was really good for throwing off other weather teams. And Spiritomb is just a premium Trick Room setter, so I had to replace Slowbro, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I also had to replace Aerodactyl. And trust me, I didn't even want to do it. I didn't want to get rid of Aerodactyl, because even though I didn't bring it into any matches, with Aerodactyl being on the team, not one person tried to shut down my team by using Taunt or Imprison. Now, I don't know if Aerodactyl actually contributed to this, but for the sake of the plot, I'm going to say it did. So this was a hard decision for me to make, but it had to be done because we needed power. And I decided to use a Pokemon that I don't really like using, because this one to me just seems completely unfair. But we're running a Rain team, so we have to include it. It's Archaludon. I don't think I have to explain what this Pokemon does. I mean, surely everyone knows, and if you don't know, all it takes is for you to install Pokemon Champions on your phone to find out. But this Pokemon is completely broken. And like, what even is it? Like, is it a bridge? I don't even know, but with this bridge in the rain, it destroys everything, so not using Archaludon seemed like a total waste, so it had to be here. And of course, we have to set up the rain in the first place, so we have Pelipper because it has the ability Drizzle. Now, one major concern here is we're still using Trick Room for Castform, and Archaludon has a base speed of 85, so running Archaludon in Trick Room isn't really viable. Is what you'd think anyway, but I want to show you guys a clip of something. The Iron Ball! Oh, the Iron Ball! As someone who always uses Trick Room, the Iron Ball being here is such a big W. The Iron Ball. This is an item that basically no one uses, but it's possibly the most broken item in this game period. And I've had this opinion for a long time. All the Iron Ball does is it cuts your speed in half, and it grounds you if you're a flying type. But the most important effect is it halving your speed. With Archaludon holding the Iron Ball, it has a base speed of 42.5. So running it in Trick Room is completely possible. For its moves, I gave it Electro Shot, Flash Cannon, Protect, and Dragon Pulse. And for Pelipper, I gave it Weather Ball, Hurricane, Protect, and Tailwind? Now, Tailwind being here might seem a bit weird because we're running a Trick Room team and we're even half of Archaludon speed. But generally, I like to have two forms of speed control on a team. Apart from Spiritomb, Slowking also has Trick Room, but because it was being phased out by Pelipper, we at least needed something for the late game, and the last minute Tailwind could come in handy. And with that, we finally have the new team. But it's still not done, because there's still a few moveset and item changes that we have to make. For Castform, I decided to replace Energy Ball for Thunder, as we're going to be in the rain, and I gave it the Life Orb as well, as we're pushing everything to that absolute limit. I also replaced Will-O-Wisp for Rain Dance or Spiritomb, and I gave Aurous the Focus Sash so it could take at least one hit from Make It Rain or Close Combat, as it's 4 times weak to both, and I gave Pelipper the Mystic Water so Weather Ball would do more damage. After all the changes, I decided that there was one last thing to do. We had to give Castform a nickname, because, I mean, this was it. It was all or nothing. I had to show my opponents that I was serious about using Castform and that it was going to destroy them all. And I decided to nickname him Broly. If you've seen Dragon Ball Z, you know. Oh yeah, and luckily for me, Archaludon already has a fitting nickname, so I don't have to change it. With all that said, the team is finally ready for Ultra Ball, but I still have to formulate a plan. I can't just dive in and expect to win every single match, so here's the strategy. Our main core is going to be Archaludon, Spiritomb, Pelipper, and Castform. But if our opponent has Sun, Snow, or Sand, our core is going to be the old team of Spiritomb, Slowking, Aurous, and Broly. Sorry, Castform. No, wait, Broly. First turn, we're gonna send our Spiritomb in the bridge, and we're gonna protect with our Charizard while Spiritomb sets up Trick Room. On the next turn, we're gonna use Rain Dance with Spiritomb and let our Charizard fire off Electro Shot. At some point, either our Charizard or Spiritomb will go down, and that's when we go into Castform and demolish our opponents with Weather Ball. And if the rain goes away, we can just send in Pelipper to restart it. And with that, the plan's formulated, and we were ready to hop in. And that's what we did. And this team was absurdly good. I was fighting Mega Staraptor not even knowing what it would do because I recorded this on the first day of Regulation MB. And this team was treating Staraptor like it wasn't even a threat. Annihilate was being done. Golden Go was being done. That's not to say that this team was perfect because we were still losing a few games. But this was an insane improvement from my last team. And after I understood my team a bit more, I realized that there were still a few improvements that could be made. One thing that I noticed was that at this point, I wasn't really using Destiny 1 on Spiritomb. So I chose to swap it back for Will-O-Wisp, as halving your opponent's attack can be really useful, especially because our Charizard's weak to fighting, and most fighting types are physical attackers. I also chose to give Pelipper the Focus Sash instead of Aurous because I was essentially bringing Pelipper into every single match. And with Raichu X and Y being newly introduced, Pelipper really needed the Focus Sash, so I just gave it to it. And we gave Aurous the Chopper Berry back. And now the team was doing even better than it was before, but I clocked that there was still one thing that I could add to their team. A brand new Pokemon, one that you're probably familiar with already and works really well in the rain. Basculegion. Now, Basculegion has a very similar speed stat to Castform, meaning that it doesn't particularly do well in Trick Room, but if you give it the Brave Nature, you can get away with it. And Basculegion itself is just a complete beast. It has adaptability, it can get Last Respects, Wave Crash, so including it here was a very easy decision. And I realized that I wasn't really using Aurous that much anymore, so Basculegion took its place. For its moves, we of course have Wave Crash and Last Respects, but we also have Protect and Aqua Jet. And I decided to give it the Mystic Water as well, so Wave Crash did even more damage. Also because Aurous wasn't on the team anymore, I decided to swap Blizzard for Ice Beam on Castform, and that was it. There were no more changes that I could think of, so the only thing left to do was hop back in. And this team was shredding absolutely everything. Castform was performing like it was in the Olympics, bro. He was fighting the best Pokemon in the format and winning. Nothing was a problem, so much so that I found myself having a 7-win streak and being 1 win away from reaching Master Ball tier. For context, if you don't play Pokemon Champions, a single loss in Ultra Ball tier will tank your points, forcing you to grind all the way back up just to get to the point that I was currently at. So there was a lot of pressure riding on this last game, and I decided to record my reactions, so here it is. There's a lot on the line here, man. There is a lot on the line here. Okay. Our opponent's running okay, wait, I know what this is. What, like, this is Speed Boost, Calm Mind, Baton Pass onto our Charizard, and then okay. Now, really? Now? The last match before Master Ball tier, you wanna give me this? Normally I can't even beat this team. Like normally I struggle so much, so dealing with this now will be very interesting. Okay. We'll bring the raid boss in Spiritomb. Obviously we'll bring the boy Broly here. And for the last slot, I think we bring Basculegion. Yeah, no point bringing Pelipper. There's already enough rain with them having Pelipper already. Yeah. Okay. Let's see how we do here. They send out Espafra and Sylveon. Okay. There's a high chance they use Protect with Espafra first turn. Very high chance. But they might not. They might not though. Hyper Voice is concerning, but with the Rosalie Berry on Spiritomb, we do take one. Okay, over here we'll use Protect with the Raid Boss, and then, yeah, Trick Room here. Okay. They do use Protect first turn, okay. They actually double Protect. I don't know why they double Protect here. I think using Hyper Voice was valid, but fair enough. And there's Trick Room. Speed Boost, yeah. Okay. With the Raid Boss, what I'm thinking is that we Electro Shot. We do it onto Espafra, I think. Actually, do we target Sylveon instead? Sylveon having Hyper Voice is annoying. Yeah, it is really annoying here. Okay, you know what? Let's target Sylveon and then Rain Dance, yeah. I don't know what to actually do. I don't know. This is a lot of pressure. Man. I don't know. Okay, I think Espafra uses Calm Mind. I think it does. And then, Sylveon uses Hyper Voice. We take Hyper Voice with Spiritomb and our Charizard. Calm Mind is annoying, but I think we can take down Espafra before he uses Baton Pass. I think. I don't actually know if we do. Okay, we probably don't actually. We probably don't. Hyper Voice, yeah. It does a lot of damage. Yeah, I don't regret targeting Sylveon there. It's doing too much. And yeah, Calm Mind. Makes sense. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to Electro Shot onto his Pathra, because I think they use Baton Pass here. We're going to use Snarl. I think with a special attack drop, I think the raid boss takes one more Hyper Voice. I think we survive this. I think we survive Hyper Voice. Does this Pathra have the Focus Sash? Probably. But now it doesn't, because Snarl does hit. Electro Shot. Does this KO Pathra? I mean, like, it definitely does. It definitely does. This Pathra is not tanky at all. Yeah, this Pathra goes down. Do we take Hyper Voice? Raid boss, please? It does! Okay. Okay, Spiritomb goes down. But it's cool. Okay. We can win, guys. We can win. I think we go into Broly. I want to go into Basque Legion. But this is, of course, Castform's video. So we have to send our Castform into the deep end. We have to. And there's the boy Broly. Trick Room's up for 2 more turns. Okay. There's a decent chance they use Protect with Sylveon here to stop Electro Shot or potential Flash Cannon. So what I'm thinking is we Dragon Pulse onto our Chalodon. This won't one-shot, but I should do good. And then... Oh, man. I don't actually know what to do with Castform. I don't know. I think we Ice Beam onto our Chalodon. They do use Protect. Okay, big read. Big read. Very, very big read. Did they double Protect? They don't double Protect here. Dragon Pulse. Actually, just one-shots. Okay, I didn't think that would happen. The raid boss is, in fact, the raid boss. Okay. They send out Scovillain. They're going to use Rage Powder here. They definitely do. We just Dragon Pulse onto Scovillain. And then Weather Ball as well onto it. Who do we target with Weather Ball? Do we attack Scovillain? Or Sylveon? I don't think Dragon Pulse will KO. Okay, hang on. Okay, I think we target Scovillain because we start Basque Legion with 4 HP. So I think this is fine. If they protect with Scovillain here, which I don't think they do, I think we just lose. Okay, then Mega. Suggesting that they don't protect and that this is probably Rage Powder. Okay, no protect, not even a Rage Powder. Dragon Pulse. Does it one shot. We get burned, okay. But Weather Ball to clean up. Hyper Voice. Oh, Broly's beefy. It's beefy. It takes it. There's Weather Ball. Scovillain goes down. Hang on, guys. Hang on. Trick Room's gone here. Trick Room's gone. But we have a 4 HP Basque Legion on the bench. Okay. Does Sylveon survive Last Respects? No shot! They forfeit. We did it! We got Castform into Master Ball tier! Done! It's done. It's done. It's done. We did it. Oh my word. Oh my word. We brought home the glory! Big up Castform. Big up Aerodactyl. Big up the raid boss, even though I don't like using the raid boss, but you know what? In this case, big up the raid boss. And big up Castform again. Oh, it's done. It's done. We actually did it, man. We actually managed to pull this off. Castform really brought home the glory, guys. He did. So, I was able to do it. I brought Castform into every single match, started from Pokeball tier, all the way into Master Ball, and we did it in only 5 hours. And here's a screenshot of the footage as proof if you look at the timeline. This was a challenge that I've been meaning to do for a while now, so I'm happy that I was able to do it in the end. And one reason why I wanted to do it was to show that you really can get your favorite Pokemon into Master Ball if you build a team that's good enough. But with that said, I ain't doing this again. Well, it depends. If this video does well and a lot of you guys want to see me do this again with another Pokemon, then I might. But for the time being, I'm going to take a rest. But if you want more Pokemon videos in a similar style to this, then definitely make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And if you want more battles, check out my other channel, Death Aqua, where I post videos of me using random Pokemon on rank and try to win with them. But with all that said, I'll see you in the next one.